Yo, what's up everyone? Kyrios here, and today I've got the video for you, especially for my free-to-play community. I'm going to teach you how to become meta. Now you're going to have to hodl some of those resources. You're going to have to think long and hard about what you're going to want to choose, but I'm going to tell you how to make any of the meta comps. Yes, there's one per element, and I'm going to tell you about some of the gotchas. There's a couple characters that are outside that meta that fit everywhere. So hit the chapters down below. We're going to talk through absolutely everything you need to know. If you guys can, hit that like and subscribe, check out the Tower Fantasy playlist, and let's get started. All right, so quickly, I want to talk about what meta means. Now, we're not talking about PvP, because PvP, all you have to do is own one character, and the matrices don't matter. So as long as you're pulling one of every character, which, by the way, if you're able to pull one of every character, you're probably pulling the battle pass, and you're pulling the monthly pass at a minimum, so you're not really free to play anymore, so you can make any of these meta teams. Maybe not with the stars you need, but you could build multiple teams. But for my free-to-play community, once again, this isn't really derived towards PvP, even though you'll be able to use your meta team in PvP, and you'll get a decent rating, as long as you're trying not to get Grand Marshal. Now, this is really designed for PvE, because once we get to 2.0 and beyond, it starts getting pretty rough. The world bosses get harder, the plot gets a lot harder, the areas get a lot harder, the special monsters get a lot harder. You need to build a meta team, and luckily for you, in this game, there's not one meta team, there's one per element: fire, frost, volt, and physical. So I'm going to show you all of those on how you become meta and how you should start planning right now. I get a lot of those questions like, hey, I just pulled Nemesis, but I'm free to play. Well, Nemesis is part of your Volt meta team. You might have just committed to being Volt, and that might not be what you want to do. So I want to show you those teams. And just to interject real quick, the reason why this is really, really important is that as a free-to-play, you're only going to be able to pull on maybe one, two, well, you're only going to be able to put on two to maybe three banners. This is why we have to start planning now. Let's talk about two characters that are outside the scope of that meta that are going to fit into every single team specifically first. I'll see you over there. Quickly, I want to talk about two characters real quick. And we'll talk about Lin Yi first, because I actually have Lin Yi. I don't have MARC. That's who we're going to talk about too. But Lin Yi is a staple for every single team comp I'm about to talk about. She fits in every single one. Now, why is she so good? And we'll talk about her abilities here in just a second. But what really makes her good is that she inherits the properties of your two adjacent teams. And on the teams we're going to build, they're always going to have two of the same element and one off element. For example, my physical team is going to have two physical and then Lin Yi. And what it's going to do, it's going to change her element on her skill to, you can see that this, I have now this, you can see this golden ring here is because she has inherited the properties of physical. So she's able to fit into, and it'll change to blue if you have frost, it'll change to red if you have fire, and this is why she's able to fit in everywhere. Talking about Lin Yi first, she's got decent shatter. It's not the best shatter, even though it's S rank, and she's got decent charge, which makes her really good. And she's her own element aberration, which is essentially like a wind element. What makes her really good is her night bloom explosion. That you're able to use the skill, it comes out, and then it just does a ton of AoE damage all over the place. You sub her in, you use her ultimate, you use her skill, and you sub out to your actual DPS. Now, as a TLDR, you do need to ideally get her to the 3 stars, because it reduces the spawn time of night blooms by 0.3 seconds, and it increases the duration of lunar reflection to 20 seconds, which is her skill. So you have to really balance your resources if you're going to try and get her to 3 star. But even at 1 star, 0 star, she's an amazing addition to the team. Now, quickly, we'll talk about MARC. Now, sadly, I do not have MARC. I am pretty much free to play on the CN server, except for buying Lin Yi's skin, because that skin was absolutely beautiful. So I don't have a lot of the characters, unfortunately. I wasn't able to test them, but I do know what the metas are, and MARC is an insane meta. All right, so quickly looking at MARC, it really, the reason he was really broken at high-end tier play is due to this mech form, physical percent, physical resistance, It just, and then the Omnium shield that he got on top of it, he supplied so much survivability to your team that almost every single person ran him. And especially when we got to the 6-star where you get that physical resistance that got doubled. 3-star is also really good. When you have the shield, when it breaks or refreshes, increases final damage by 35%. Pretty dang good. So the issue is that I'll be interested to see how they change MARC, but you're going to see that MARC fits in a lot of the teams we're about to get to. And remember, you can still only pick one team. So let's head on over to the currency and then head on over to the teams. So you may be asking yourself, how do I make an S6 or maybe two S3 characters in part of my meta team before we get to those teams? Well, it's pretty simple. It's going to take a lot of patience. But let me give you an example real quick, which, by the way, hi to Mommy Linyi in her beach outfit, which is absolutely adorable. One of the characters we're about to cover, or maybe I've already covered in this video. But if you guys if you're building a meta team, a lot of the characters are going to go to the general pool. So once they go to the general pool, like for example, I have a physical team. I'll show you that here in a second. Claudia is currently in the general pool. Nemesis is actually coming out to the general pool shortly after I'm making this video. You can see Cobalt is there too. They eventually add almost every single character to the general pool. Now, why is that a good thing? I've already used 120 chips to upgrade my Claudia one time, but you can take the chips that you have just by doing summons. You can see I'm sitting on a bunch of summons as well. This is what ends up happening when you're building a meta team, is that you'll end up getting a decent amount of summons and you can just use those to get chips. And then you're going to be able to turn those chips in to say if you want to do a 5-star Claudia and you want to do a physical team. And spoiler alert, like physical team that I have right now would be Linyi. That is not my physical team. Let's fast forward real quick. To show off like my physical team would be Claudia, Linyi, Lyra. Spoiler alert on the next part of the chapter. But if I wanted to S3 or S5 or S6, and we'll get to this, my Claudia, I can now do it. Could I do it for Lyra too? Yes, we just have to wait for her to hit the general pool. And this is what's very important about building that meta comp, is that you don't have to spend a lot of money to do that. You just have to have a lot of patience that you're going to eventually have this super amazing comp that you're going to be able to S3 maybe 2 characters or S6 a single character like Nemesis and just go completely ham. So make sure you guys are saving those black chips and in planning for the future as we are talking about in this video. I see you have chosen the way of the meta. Congratulations. Now remember, as a free-to-play, you can only choose one effectively, or at least in the first year, from Fire, Frost, Volt, and Physical. Hit the chapters down below on which one entices you, or check them all out. I'll see you in there. So you're a Frost user. Very smart. One of the best for free-to-play and also the most versatile. So let's kick this thing off with the top of the list, which is Sakifua. Now, she's not going to be here for a while. You have a long time to save, unless they throw us a curveball, I guess. But she is absolutely amazing. Pulling down her stats here real quick. She is a Frost. She has double katanas. Look at that shatter rate, almost 14. That is crazy. And then she does have that ice resonance. When you have 2 or more ice, it increases attack. That'll probably get modified down, just like Nemesis, down to about 15%. Now, I just want to quickly talk about her breakthrough. She's absolutely amazing. You're going to use her. She's going to be your shield breaker. She also does a lot of damage. She's actually good at 0 stars, but her 3-star breakthrough is actually really, really cool. When using Flowing Heart, increases damage by 900%. 900%. Absolutely cracked. But you don't really need to take her all the way, but it's really nice that her breakthrough is around 1-star to 3-star, because that makes it very budget friendly. Moving on to the second one on the list, we do have best to have is Frigg, and Frigg is also very amazing. Just talking about her slightly, she's not good at shield breaking or anything like that, but she is good at just doing insane amounts of damage with increasing ice attack, she does get her own increase in shatter, but she's not gonna do it as well as Saki. Now, what I really like about her breakthrough talents here is that she gained, I like the 1-star, and I think that's probably the best spot to get her. She's good at 0 star, she's good at 1-star, and by the way, I mean, every character is good at 6-star, right? So, But what we're covering is the free-to-play aspect of this. So if you can get her the 1-star, you get Saki the 3-star. A great, wonderful, wonderful team. All right, next up on the list, we do have, if you're not able to get Frigg, the next best in line is 𝙀𝙬𝙋. Now, 𝙀𝙬𝙋 is going to supply the attack buff at 1-star, and since she is one of the starting characters, you're probably going to be able to get her the 6-star over time. So a very good character to have as either your support, so you could run triple Frost, or as your DPS. I do really like her a lot. Now, the two characters that we did cover before, you do have Lynn. Lynn is absolutely amazing for this team comp. Saki, Frigg, Lynn would be one of my go-tos here. We've already talked about Lynn. We don't talk too much about her. Now, another one that's in the good fits here is MARC. And we've talked about MARC already. MARC just supplies great synergy and a great survivability to any team, especially a Frost team. It's going to go very, very well. Last or second to last, we do have Claudia. And Claudia, you're going to see almost in every single team comp. And the main reason why Claudia is there is for her 1-star unlock. Her 1-star unlock allows her to get 8% additional damage, stacking 3 times, giving you a total of, what's the math there, 24%. So you can swap in, use her ult, use her a skill, whatever you want to do, stack that damage, swap back. She's going to be great for any single team. Now, very situational. We are going to put Meryl here just because that's where she is. Meryl's actually going to be a lot higher on the list initially, but she will fall off. But if you're not able to get Frigg, 𝙀𝙬𝙋, or a few of these other characters, and you're able to commit to Saki at least, then you can still make a pretty decent Frost team. Let's move on over to the Fire team. Oh, you're a Fire main, are you? Fire is actually really fun. One of the teams I wish I always was able to make. Now, Fire team is pretty straightforward. Top of the list, we will have Ruby. She is a core. She's a must-have. She is absolutely needed. Now, in the CN version, she does have a resonance. It does look like that resonance is getting moved to 𝙀𝙬𝙋, which is fine because 𝙀𝙬𝙋 is also going to be on this, spoiler alert. But looking at Ruby real quick, I just want to point out that she's a DPS and she's a shatter pretty insanely. Now, 11.5 isn't the best on the board compared to other things we've seen. But what I do like is that she's just really good out the gate. She's great at 0-star. And this Fire team composition is probably the lowest star requirement you need out of any team. And she absolutely just demolishes enemies and bosses and stuff like that. Now, if you are able to get her the 5-star eventually, she does get that increased shatter by 25%, and she gets all these additional buffs on top of that. So her breakthrough, in my opinion, would be 5-star for her, but that's a pretty big commitment. Now, going down the list, we do have 𝙀𝙬𝙋 as the second best to have. 𝙀𝙬𝙋 is just going to apply that synergy. Now, I know you don't see that synergy here on this page, but I think it's already been confirmed through some leaks that 𝙀𝙬𝙋 is going to have that flame synergy, but you take that into account as we're doing this. And what I like about 𝙀𝙬𝙋 is that you don't really need any stars. Now, I would say her breakthrough is her 1-star, adds 2% additional damage based on the enemy's max HP, up to 200% attack. That's actually really cool because you swap her in, skill her, alter, swap her out. It'll be absolutely great. So going down the list here, we do have, you guessed it, we do have Lynn again. So the team I would build would be Ruby, Cobalt, Lynn. It would just work really well. It would have great synergy. The only problem I have here is that you don't really have a lot of healing or a lot of protection here. So you may need to swap out Lynn for who we're going to put in here is MARC to give you some more protection or shielding in some way or another, right? So we've already talked about Lynn and MARC, so we won't talk about them too much. Now, some two other characters that you throw in here that we've already talked about is 𝙀𝙀𝙋. 𝙀𝙀𝙋 has to be 1-star in order to get that attack buff. It is stacking. You swap her in, get that attack buff, swap her out. She's absolutely great at doing that. And then we do have Claudia on the board for doing the exact same thing. I actually still prefer Claudia because you get a bigger damage buff. And if you ever get a 5-star Claudia, it just gets even more crazy from there. Now, niche, if you have to, would be King, and it would be 0 just for the fire buff alone, for stacking that fire synergy. King is just not going to do it as well as Ruby, especially a 5-star Ruby. And then 0 could be used in place of Lynn or MARC or something like that if you do need that shielding healing as well. So just because if you have to doesn't mean bad. It just means you might have to play with the team a little bit to find your perfect synergy. All right, so you've chosen the path of ultimate power, or at least electricity is power. Yeah. Anyways, let's kick this one off. So top of the list is going to be someone that's already in global that you guys are aware of, is going to be Nemesis. Now, Nemesis is a core to the team. She has that Volt resonance that you're aware of. She also does a lot of healing, so I do really like the positioning she's in. So it's really nice to have someone whose core that is actually support. I really do enjoy her. She's a really great character. We have her on our global account as well. Now, for me, her breakthrough, so if you guys are wondering, as a free to play, she's great at 0-star, but she really does come to life as a healer, especially as that 1-star. So if you're able to get her 1-star early, that does help you out. But this is one of the characters that will grow and grow with you, that is still in meta today, and is definitely worth a 6-star. So you can wait for her to hit that general banner and maybe 6-star her, especially with some of the characters that we have coming up. So the next one on the list that I can never pronounce is 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉𝘿. I cannot pronounce it, but she is a limited character just like MARC, and we don't know if we're gonna get MARC. But if we do get she's absolutely nuts. Now, unfortunately, I've never been able to play test her. She was a limited, but she is a DPS and shatter in one, so she pretty much covers all the boards there. She has this war intent, which increases final damage by 15%. And looking through some of her advancements, I'm gonna have to make a little bit of a judgment call here. I honestly think her 3-star, her 1-star and her 3-star are really her breakthroughs, mainly because anytime that it increases shatter damage, that's always a perk. And then what I really like is that breaking the shield will release an instant burst of damage at the location, dealing 680% attack to targets within range, which is a pretty ridiculous. Now, the one thing I do want to say is that with these limiteds, they will never hit the general pool, so you're only going to be able to level up your Nemesis with those black chips that we talked about. And 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉, you would either have to get super lucky and maybe at least get her to a 1-star, or she's going to just be good out the gate at 0-star. But 3-star is going to be asking a lot out of the free to play community, especially with trying to get some of these other characters. Going down the list, we do have Lyn again. Lyn is absolutely amazing, we know. So this would be one of my favorite comps right here. Nemesis by Lyn would be it'd be chef's kiss right there. Like, you'd almost never have to swap that. You got healing support, you've got damage, you got more damage, you got more damage, you got more support, you got more damage. It's just going to be absolutely amazing. Once again, we will have MARC on that list just for more additional support. And honestly, Nemesis, 𝙀𝙓𝙋𝘼𝙉, and MARC is probably pretty good in bygones, especially this team. So this team's going to work out really well. Now, the one thing I do want to point out is that I am going to throw Samir at the best of halves. Now, most people would be like, oh yeah, you can put her down there because she does get outclassed, but she only gets outclassed by Yuku. And we're not going to really cover the new character that just came out because he's still pretty new to the board. But since we don't know if we're going to get that collab, if we don't get the collab, Samir has an insane stand-up, at least from a free-to-play perspective, for quality of life, considering she only needs to be 0-star or 1-star. Next up, we do have Crow. Now, Crow is very niche. You do require really good matrices for a Crow, and Crow really does require being C3 and C6. I'm not a big fan of Crow's rotation, but some people do like the jump dash booster combo macro thing. It is what it is. Going down other good fits that you could fit in here. Once again, we do have Claudia. Claudia does increase damage, and once again, we do have Tsubasa, and Tsubasa increases damage. Now, one thing you will realize is that this team just doesn't have any if you have to's, because Volt is very solid. Let's move on to the last one. All right, finally, we have a physical team. Now, the physical team, you're going to be waiting a long time, but this is one of the comps I run, and I actually really enjoy it. For a physical team, your go-to would be Lyra. Lyra is an absolute must-have. She heals, she punches, she mudas, she auras things in the face constantly. And if you've seen any of my streams, I use her all the time. She's just fun. You just sit there and you punch things in the face. I absolutely enjoy it. Now, the other one I would put here, I'm going to make a little exception, is that Claudia is also up there too. Mainly because Claudia looks like is getting a physical resonance that doesn't exist in the CN, just like we have Volt and Fire and Frost resonance. If Claudia does get that, that is just a huge step forward with making that team. So just realize that we have 2 core in this one, because I mean that's what makes a physical team right now very, very good. Now best halves on top of this, we do have a Lynn and Mark. So right there, bam, your physical team is essentially done. You can go with 3, you can swap Lynn in at times, you can swap Mark in at times, but once again, we don't know if we're going to get Mark. Lyra, Claudia, Lynn is going to be absolutely amazing there. Some other ones that would be really good to throw in here for me personally is I would throw in a 𝙀�モ is a good fit for more attack damage. You can never go wrong with 𝙀𝙀. I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but Shiro's really, if you have to, aka you don't have Lyra yet, you might want to put Shiro in there. But remember, Shiro really just does not come alive until you're at like S3 and S6. And even then, she does get outclassed by a lot of the other DPS. Does she do bad? No. Is she top tier? She's not, but she's still good, and she's a lot of fun. So I do give that. And then the last one I'll throw on there is just for pity's sake, is that we will throw Nemesis on there too, just in case you need to plug and play. Maybe 2 physical with a Nemesis, just for more even support than that. The physical is in a kind of a weird spot until Lyra, in my opinion. So if you go this route, you may be waiting a while for this to really come alive, and you'll just be plugging and playing different characters until that actually happens. Okay, that was a lot of information. I'm so sorry the video was so long, but man, I just really had to get you guys all this information. Remember, as a free to play, you could probably only pull on like 2 to 3 or 4 banners within a year. So you really need to make one of these meta teams. And if somehow you get the luck of the gods and you're able to make a second one, big congrats. And if you guys can buy the battle pass or anything like that, I'm not telling you to spend any money, but you could probably get one of every character with the monthly pass and battle pass. I haven't worked out all those numbers yet. But I hope you guys did enjoy the video. Hit me up in the comments down below if you feel like I was off point, or if I missed something. I will correct any of the mistakes I made in the pinned comment. Hopefully I didn't make any this time. And I will see you all on the next video. I will see you in the live streams. Peace out, and fist bump from me to you.